The experiment begins. Introduction of Dr. Elena Reeves and test subject Jake Harper. Initiation of the controversial alien DNA experiment. Unexpected developments. Jake's transformation begins. First signs of enhanced abilities and unforeseen side effects. Escape and pursuit. Jake breaks out of the facility. Government agents chase him as he discovers the extent of his new powers. Alien contact. Jake encounters the source of the alien DNA. Revelations about the experiment's true purpose. Human ingenuity unleashed. Jake and Dr. Reeves work together to prevent a potential alien invasion. A new era for humanity. Resolution of the conflict. Jake's role in reshaping human-alien relations. Now, I'll start writing part 1 of the story. Part 1. The experiment begins. The sterile fluorescent lights of the underground laboratory cast harsh shadows across Dr. Elena Reeves' face as she peered into the microscope. Her dark hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and her brow furrowed in concentration. She adjusted the focus, her eyes widening as she observed the alien DNA sample writhing under the lens. "Fascinating," she murmured, straightening up and jotting down notes on her tablet. "The cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen." A knock on the lab door startled her from her observations. "Come in," she called out, quickly minimizing the classified files on her computer screen. Colonel Marcus Briggs entered, his crisp military uniform a stark contrast to the sea of white lab coats. "Dr. Reeves, it's time. Our volunteer has arrived." Elena's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was the moment she had been working towards for years, the culmination of her research into extraterrestrial biology. "I'll be right there," she replied, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. As they walked down the corridor, Colonel Briggs briefed her on the test subject. "His name is Jake Harper. Former Special Forces, dishonorably discharged. He's agreed to participate in exchange for a clean slate." Elena frowned. "Is he aware of the risks?" "He's been informed of the general nature of the experiment," Briggs replied evasively. "But you know as well as I do that national security is at stake here. We can't afford to be too transparent." They entered a high-security wing of the facility. Through a one-way mirror, Elena saw a man sitting on the edge of a hospital bed. Jake Harper was in his early 30s, with close-cropped hair and a physique that spoke of years of military training. His eyes darted around the room, a mix of wariness and resignation in his expression. Elena entered the room, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Harper, I'm Dr. Elena Reeves. I'll be overseeing your procedure today." Jake's gaze locked onto her. "Doc, level with me. What exactly am I signing up for here?" Elena hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "We're testing a new enhancement protocol. It has the potential to revolutionize human capabilities." "Enhancement, huh?" Jake's lips quirked in a humorless smile. "That's a fancy way of saying you're gonna turn me into a lab rat." "I assure you, Mr. Harper, every precaution has been taken to ensure your safety," Elena said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Are you ready to proceed?" Jake shrugged. "Not like I've got much choice, do I? Let's get this over with." As Elena prepared the injection, her mind raced with the possibilities. The alien DNA they had recovered from a crashed spacecraft had shown incredible regenerative properties and resistance to extreme conditions. If they could successfully integrate it with human DNA, it could lead to unprecedented advancements in medicine, space exploration, and military applications. But as she held the syringe filled with the iridescent blue liquid, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. They were venturing into uncharted territory, playing with forces they didn't fully understand. "This may cause some discomfort," Elena warned as she swabbed Jake's arm with antiseptic. Jake snorted. "Story of my life, Doc." The needle pierced his skin, and Elena slowly depressed the plunger. The alien DNA entered Jake's bloodstream, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake's body went rigid, his eyes widening in shock. "What there?" he gasped, before convulsing violently on the bed. Code Blue, Elena shouted, rushing to stabilize him. Alarms blared as medical staff poured into the room. As they fought to keep Jake alive, Elena caught a glimpse of his eyes. For a split second, they flashed an otherworldly silver. What have we done? She thought, a chill running down her spine. Hours later, Jake's condition stabilized. He lay unconscious, hooked up to an array of monitoring equipment. Elena stood by his bedside, watching the steady rise and fall of his chest. Colonel Briggs entered the room, his face grim. "Report, Dr. Reeves." Elena ran a hand through her disheveled hair. "He survived the initial integration, which is remarkable. His vital signs are stronger than ever, but we won't know the full effects until he regains consciousness." "And when will that be?" As if on cue, Jake's eyes fluttered open, but instead of the warm brown they had been before, they now shimmered with an alien silver sheen. "Now," Jake said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance, "we awaken now." Elena and Colonel Briggs exchanged alarmed glances. The experiment had worked, but at what cost? Jake sat up, ripping away the monitoring equipment with inhuman strength. He looked at his hands in wonder, flexing his fingers as if seeing them for the first time. "Mr. Harper," Elena said cautiously, "how do you feel?" Jake turned his silver gaze upon her, a smile slowly spreading across his face. "We feel magnificent. Your species has such potential, Dr. Reeves. We look forward to exploring it together." Colonel Briggs reached for his sidearm, but Jake moved with blinding speed, easily disarming him. Now, Jake chided, his voice a disconcerting mixture of human and alien. "Let's not do anything rash. We have so much to learn from each other." As alarms began to blare throughout the facility, Elena realized with growing horror that their experiment had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams and their worst nightmares. The being before them was neither fully human nor fully alien, but something entirely new. And as Jake, or whatever he had become, stood there with an enigmatic smile, Elena knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The experiment had begun, and humanity's future hung in the balance. Unexpected developments. The days following Jake Harper's transformation were a whirlwind of tests, observations, and increasingly alarming discoveries. Dr. Elena Reeves found herself working around the clock, trying to understand the extent of the changes wrought by the alien DNA. Jake sat in the center of a reinforced containment chamber, surrounded by an array of sensors and monitoring equipment. His silver eyes tracked Elena's movements as she entered, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, Mr. Harper," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "How are you feeling today?" Jake smiled, an expression that no longer quite reached his eyes. "We are well, Dr. Reeves. Though we find your continued use of that name quaint. We are more than just Jake Harper now." Elena suppressed a shudder. The use of "we" instead of "I" had been one of the first changes they'd noticed. Whether it indicated a hive mind, multiple personalities, or something else entirely, they had yet to determine. "What would you prefer we call you?" she asked, making a note on her clipboard. Jake tilted his head, considering. "For now, Jake will suffice, but know that we encompass far more than that simple human designation." Elena nodded, then began her daily battery of tests. Jake's physical changes were remarkable. His muscle density had increased exponentially, his reflexes were off the charts, and his ability to process information had grown by orders of magnitude. But it was the less quantifiable changes that truly unnerved her. Jake's personality had shifted, becoming at once more alien and more intensely human. He displayed flashes of profound empathy alongside moments of cold, inhuman logic. As Elena drew a blood sample, she noticed Jake studying her intently. "Your species fascinates us," he said. "So fragile, yet so resilient. So limited, yet so ingenious. And how do you see yourself in relation to humanity now?" Elena asked, unable to keep the scientific curiosity from her voice. Jake's silver eyes seemed to peer into her soul. "We are the bridge, Dr. Reeves. The next step in your evolution. Through us, humanity will transcend its limitations and reach for the stars. Before Elena could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Colonel Briggs' voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Reeves, report to the command center immediately." Elena hurried out, leaving Jake alone in his containment chamber. As the door sealed behind her, she could have sworn she saw a smirk play across his face. In the command center, chaos reigned. Screens displayed cascading strings of code as technicians frantically typed at their keyboards. "What's happening?" Elena demanded. Colonel Briggs turned to her, his face ashen. "It's Harper. Somehow, he's interfacing with our systems. He's rewriting our security protocols faster than we can stop him." Elena's blood ran cold. They had known Jake's mental capabilities had been enhanced, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. How is this possible? "We think it's related to the alien DNA's ability to manipulate energy fields," one of the scientists explained. "He's essentially communicating with our computers on a quantum level." Suddenly, every screen in the command center went dark. When they flickered back to life, Jake's face appeared on each one, his silver eyes gleaming with amusement. "Did you really think you could contain us?" His voice echoed from every speaker. "We are beyond your comprehension, beyond your control. But do not fear. We mean you no harm. We are here to help humanity realize its true potential." Colonel Briggs grabbed a phone, barking orders to lock down the facility, but it was too late. On the security feeds, they watched as every door in the compound opened simultaneously. Jake calmly walked out of his containment chamber, the most advanced security measures in the world, nothing more than a minor inconvenience to him now. "My God," Elena whispered, "what have we created?" As they watched helpless, Jake made his way through the facility. Any guards who tried to stop him found themselves gently but firmly incapacitated, left unconscious but unharmed in his wake. Finally, Jake reached the surface exit. He turned to face a security camera, seeming to look directly at Elena through the screen. "Thank you for this gift, Dr. Reeves," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "We know you fear what you do not understand, but in time you will see. This is only the beginning." With that, Jake stepped out into the sunlight, leaving the stunned facility personnel to grapple with the enormity of what had just occurred. In the days that followed, the world would learn of Jake's existence. Grainy cell phone footage of a silver-eyed man performing impossible feats would go viral. Governments would scramble to respond to this new reality, and humanity would be forced to confront the fact that they were no longer alone, not just in the universe, but on their very own planet. As for Elena, she found herself torn between scientific fascination and deep moral uncertainty. She had set out to push the boundaries of human potential, but in doing so, had she opened Pandora's box. Late one night, as she pored over data from Jake's transformation, her computer screen suddenly went blank. A message appeared, written in the elegant alien script they had found in the crashed spacecraft. "Do not be afraid, Elena. We have much work to do together. The stars await us." Helena stared at the screen, a mix of terror and exhilaration coursing through her veins. Whatever Jake had become, whatever future lay ahead for humanity, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The unexpected developments of their experiment had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the very fabric of human civilization. And Elena Reeves found herself at the heart of it all, standing on the precipice of a new era for mankind. Escape and pursuit. The cool night air whipped through Jake's hair as he stood atop a skyscraper, overlooking the sprawling cityscape below. His silver eyes gleamed in the darkness, taking in details no human eye could perceive. It had been 3 weeks since his escape from the government facility, and the world was still reeling from his emergence. News outlets buzzed with speculation about the silver-eyed savior, as some had taken to calling him. Grainy footage of Jake performing seemingly impossible feats had gone viral, lifting overturned cars to rescue trapped motorists, outrunning bullets, even appearing to manipulate electronic devices with just a touch. But for every person who saw Jake as a miracle, there were others who viewed him as a threat. The military had been mobilized, special ops teams were on high alert, and a nationwide manhunt was underway. Jake smiled to himself. Let them try to catch him. They didn't understand what he had become, what he was still becoming. With each passing day, he felt the alien DNA further integrating with his own, unlocking new abilities and expanding his consciousness in ways he could never have imagined. A helicopter's spotlight swept across the rooftop, and Jake casually stepped off the edge of the building. He fell for several stories before grabbing onto a flagpole, swinging himself through an open window into an empty office. His enhanced senses told him the building was nearly deserted at this late hour. As he made his way through the darkened corridors, Jake's mind wandered to Dr. Elena Reeves. He had been keeping tabs on her, watching from afar as she grappled with the consequences of their experiment. Part of him, the part that was still undeniably human, felt a twinge of guilt for the turmoil he had caused her. But the greater part of him knew that what he had become was necessary for humanity's evolution. Suddenly, Jake's heightened senses picked up movement in the stairwell. He tensed, ready for confrontation. The door burst open, and a team of heavily armed soldiers poured in, led by a familiar face, Colonel Marcus Briggs. "Stand down, Harper." Briggs barked, his rifle trained on Jake's chest. "It's over. Come quietly, and no one has to get hurt." Jake raised his hands slowly, a bemused smile playing across his lips. "Colonel, you know as well as I do that your weapons can't harm me. Why don't we skip the posturing and have a real conversation?" Briggs' jaw clenched. "You're a danger to national security, Harper. A ticking time bomb. We need to contain you, study you." "Study me?" Jake interrupted, his silver eyes flashing. "Like a lab rat? I think not. I'm offering humanity a gift, Colonel. A chance to evolve beyond your limitations. Why can't you see that?" One of the soldiers, nervous and trigger-happy, fired a shot. Jake moved with inhuman speed, catching the bullet between his fingers. The soldiers gasped in disbelief. "I don't want to hurt any of you," Jake said calmly, letting the flattened bullet fall to the floor. "But I won't be caged again. Humanity's future is at stake, and I have work to do." With blinding speed, Jake disarmed the entire team before they could react. Guns clattered to the floor as soldiers were gently but firmly incapacitated. Only Briggs remained standing, his empty hands raised in a defensive posture. "What are you?" Briggs whispered, a mixture of fear and awe in his voice. Jake approached him, his silver eyes softening slightly. "I'm the next step, Colonel. For all of us. I hope one day you'll understand that." With that, Jake turned and sprinted towards the window. Glass shattered as he leaped out into the night, leaving the stunned soldiers behind. Miles away, in a secret government lab, Dr. Elena Reeves watched the encounter unfold on a series of monitors. She had been recruited to lead a task force dedicated to understanding and potentially neutralizing Jake. But the more she observed him, the more conflicted she became. "Remarkable," she murmured, rewinding the footage to watch Jake catch the bullet again. "His abilities are growing exponentially." "That's what worries us, Doctor," said a stern voice behind her. Elena turned to see General Amanda Hawthorne, the newly appointed head of the Silver-Eyed Savior containment effort. "If Harper continues to evolve at this rate, there may soon be nothing we can do to stop him." Elena frowned. "But has he actually harmed anyone? From what I've seen, he's been using his abilities to help people." "For now," Hawthorne replied grimly. "But we can't take the risk. Your job is to find a way to neutralize him, Dr. Reeves, not to admire him." As the general strode away, Elena turned back to the monitors. She zoomed in on Jake's face, studying his expression. There was something there, a flicker of the man she had known before the transformation. Despite everything, a part of him was still human. An alert flashed on her screen, an incoming message from an unknown source. Elena's breath caught in her throat as she read the text. "Elena, we need to talk. Alone. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance. Meet me where it all began. Jay. Her heart raced as she realized Jake was reaching out to her. She knew she should report this to General Hawthorne immediately, but something held her back. This might be her only chance to truly understand what Jake had become, and perhaps find a way to bridge the gap between human and alien. As alarms began to blare throughout the facility, signaling another possible Jake sighting, Elena made her decision. She quickly gathered her research materials and slipped out of the lab, her mind racing with possibilities and fears. The pursuit of Jake Harper had taken an unexpected turn, and Dr. Elena Rees found herself caught between duty and scientific curiosity, between fear of the unknown and hope for humanity's future. As she drove into the night, heading towards the original research facility where it all began, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of a discovery that would change everything. Little did she know, forces beyond her comprehension were already in motion, and the true nature of the alien DNA's purpose was about to be revealed. Alien contact. The abandoned research facility loomed before Elena, a stark silhouette against the pre-dawn sky. As she approached the chain-link fence, memories of that fateful day when they first injected Jake with the alien DNA flooded back. She hesitated, her hand on the rusty gate, wondering if she was making a terrible mistake. "I'm glad you came," Jake's voice startled her. He seemed to materialize from the shadows, his silver eyes gleaming in the darkness. Elena's heart raced, but she steeled herself. "Jake, or should I not call you that anymore?" A smile played across his lips. "Jake is fine. I haven't forgotten who I was, Elena. I've just become more." As they walked through the deserted corridors of the facility, Jake explained how his consciousness had expanded, allowing him to perceive realities beyond human comprehension. The alien DNA wasn't just about physical enhancement, he said. It was a key, a bridge between species across the galaxy. They entered the lab where it all began. Jake placed his hand on a blank wall, and suddenly, holographic star charts sprang to life around them. Elena gasped in wonder. "We're not alone, Elena," Jake said softly, "and we're not the first species to go through this transformation." As Elena tried to process this information, a new presence made itself known. The air shimmered, and a being of pure energy materialized before them. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but constantly shifting, like a living aurora borealis. "Greetings, Dr. Elena Rees." The being spoke, its voice resonating in her mind rather than her ears. "I am Zarthal, representative of the Galactic Council." Elena stumbled back, overwhelmed. Jake steadied her with a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's okay," he reassured her. "They're here to help." Zarthal explained that the alien DNA experiment was no accident. It was a carefully orchestrated test, repeated across countless worlds throughout the galaxy. "Your species stands at a crossroads," the alien said. "The power you've begun to unlock could lead to your ascension or your destruction." Jake added, "That's why I brought you here, Elena. Humanity needs a bridge between what we were and what we could become. I can't do this alone." As Elena's scientific mind raced with questions, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security monitors flickered to life, showing military vehicles approaching. "They followed me," Elena realized with horror. Jake's expression hardened. "We're out of time. Elena, you have a choice to make. Stay and try to explain the unexplainable to people who won't understand, or come with us and help shape humanity's future among the stars." Zarthal extended a shimmering hand. "The journey will not be easy, Dr. Rees, but your species has great potential. Will you help guide them?" Elena looked from the monitors, showing the approaching soldiers, to Jake's earnest face, to the awe-inspiring form of Zarthal. In that moment, she knew her life would never be the same. "I'll do it," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "For science, for humanity." Jake smiled, a genuinely human expression that reminded her of the man he once was. "Thank you, Elena. You won't regret this." As the sound of boots echoed down the hallway, Zarthol enveloped them in a cocoon of energy. Elena felt a sensation of weightlessness, and the world around them began to fade. The last thing she saw before the laboratory disappeared was the door bursting open, Colonel Briggs and his team rushing in, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief as they witnessed the impossible. Then, in a flash of blinding light, Elena, Jake, and Zarthol vanished, leaving behind a world forever changed by the revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe. As they traveled through what Elena could only describe as a tunnel of pure energy, her mind reeled with the implications of what she had learned. The experiment that had transformed Jake wasn't just about creating a superhuman. It was about preparing humanity for its place in a vast, interconnected galactic community. When they finally emerged from the energy tunnel, Elena found herself on what appeared to be the bridge of an enormous spacecraft. Through a massive viewport, she could see Earth, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the velvet blackness of space. "Welcome to the Nexus," Zarthol said, gesturing to the advanced technology surrounding them. "From here, we will begin the next phase of humanity's journey." As Elena took in the wonders around her, she realized that her work was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. With Jake as the bridge between human and alien, and herself as the scientific mind to help humanity understand these changes, they faced an enormous task. The fate of Earth and humanity's place in the cosmos now rested in their hands. As the Nexus began to move, setting course for the heart of the galaxy, Elena felt a mix of trepidation and exhilaration. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The contact with alien life had been made, and humanity's greatest adventure was about to unfold, human ingenuity unleashed. Months had passed since Elena's departure from Earth, though time seemed to flow differently aboard the Nexus. She stood before a holographic display, her eyes darting between complex equations and simulations of DNA strands. Jake entered the room, his silver eyes taking in the scene with a mixture of curiosity and pride. "Making progress?" he asked, approaching Elena's workstation. Elena nodded, running a hand through her disheveled hair. "I think I finally cracked the code on how to safely introduce some of the alien DNA modifications to a wider human population. But Jake, the implications of this, it's staggering." Before Jake could respond, Zarthol's shimmering form appeared. "Your work is commendable, Dr. Reeves, but I'm afraid we have a more pressing concern." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive fleet of ships approaching Earth. "The Krozak," Zarthol explained, his tone grave. "A warmongering species that seeks to conquer worlds on the brink of galactic emergence. They set their sights on Earth." Elena's heart sank. But Earth has no defenses against something like this. They'll be slaughtered. Jake's expression hardened. "Not if we can help it. Zarthol, how long do we have?" "The Krozak fleet will reach Earth in approximately 72 hours, the alien replied. "Then we've got work to do," Jake said, determination in his voice. "Elena, your research, can it be adapted to enhance human soldiers rapidly?" Elena's mind raced. "Theoretically, yes, but it's risky and we'd need volunteers." "I'll handle that," Jake said. "Zarthol, can the Nexus get us back to Earth in time?" The alien nodded. "We can, but the Galactic Council forbids direct intervention in planetary conflicts. We can advise and provide technology, but the defense of Earth must come from humans themselves." As the Nexus sped towards Earth, Elena worked tirelessly to refine her formula. Jake used his enhanced abilities to interface with Earth's communication systems, broadcasting a message to key military and scientific personnel about the impending threat and their plan. When they arrived in Earth's orbit, they were met with a mixture of awe and suspicion. Colonel Briggs, now promoted to general, was among the first to board the Nexus. "I hope you have one hell of an explanation, Harper," Briggs growled, then stopped short at the sight of Zarthol. Jake quickly brought him up to speed on the situation. Despite his reservations, Briggs recognized the gravity of the threat and agreed to cooperate. Over the next 48 hours, Elena's lab aboard the Nexus became a hive of activity. Volunteer soldiers and scientists underwent a modified version of Jake's transformation. The process was grueling, but faster and more controlled than Jake's original change. Meanwhile, Jake worked with Earth's top engineers to adapt alien technology to human weapons systems. The integration of advanced energy shields and gravitic propulsion into fighter jets and battleships was a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. As the Krazak fleet entered the solar system, Earth's newly enhanced defense force stood ready. The transformed soldiers, their eyes now shimmering with a faint silver hue, manned the upgraded weapon systems. Jake and Elena watched from the bridge of the Nexus as the battle began. The conflict was fierce. The Krazak, though technologically superior, were unprepared for the rapid advancements of Earth's forces. Human pilots, their reflexes and cognitive abilities enhanced, performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Ground troops displayed strength and resilience that caught the alien invaders off guard. But the tide truly turned when Jake himself entered the fray. Using the full extent of his abilities, he single-handedly disabled the Krazak flagship, sowing confusion among the invading force. As the battle raged on, Elena worked feverishly aboard the Nexus, coordinating with Earth's scientists to find a way to repel the invasion permanently. In a flash of inspiration, she realized they could use the Krazak's own technology against them. "Jake," she called out over the comm system, "their ships are all connected to a central network. If we can upload a virus to disrupt their systems—" "On it," Jake's voice crackled back. Using his unique ability to interface with technology, Jake infiltrated the Krazak network. With Elena's guidance, he introduced a cascade failure that rippled through the entire invasion fleet. One by one, the Krazak ships began to power down, left drifting harmlessly in space. The few that remained operational quickly retreated, jumping to hyperspace and leaving Earth's solar system. As the dust settled, the full impact of what had transpired began to sink in. Humanity had not only made first contact with alien life, but had also defended itself against an interstellar invasion. And in doing so, they had demonstrated a level of adaptability and ingenuity that impressed even the Galactic Council. Back aboard the Nexus, Elena, Jake, and Zathal watched as celebrations erupted across the globe. But they knew that this was only the beginning. Earth would need to be prepared for its new role in the galactic community. "You've done well," Zathal said, his energy form pulsing with what seemed like pride. "Both of you. Your species has proven its worth and its potential." Jake turned to Elena, a weary but triumphant smile on his face. "Ready for the next challenge, Doc?" Elena looked out at the Earth, forever changed by the events of the past few days. "Absolutely," she replied. "I have a feeling our work is just getting started." As the Nexus prepared for its next journey, Elena knew that humanity was on the brink of a new era. With a combination of alien knowledge and human ingenuity, the possibilities were endless. The stars, once so distant and unreachable, now seemed like the next frontier waiting to be explored. The defense of Earth had showcased the best of humanity, its resilience, creativity, and unwavering spirit. And as they prepared to take their place among the stars, Elena felt a surge of pride and excitement for what the future held. A new era for humanity. 5 years had passed since the Krazak invasion, and Earth had undergone a transformation that would have seemed impossible just a short time ago. The skylines of major cities now featured sleek, anti-gravity buildings that stretched into the clouds. Personal transport pods zipped between them, their quiet hum a far cry from the noisy combustion engines of the past. Dr. Elena Rees stood at the podium of the newly established Galactic Embassy in New York, addressing a crowd of human and alien dignitaries. Her silver-flecked eyes, a remnant of her own partial transformation, scanned the audience. "Today, we celebrate not just Earth's admission into the Galactic Council, but the spirit of cooperation and progress that has brought us here," Elena began. "In just 5 short years, we have achieved advancements that once seemed centuries away. But more importantly, we have learned to see beyond our differences and recognize the potential in unity. In the front row, Jake sat next to Zarthol, whose energy form had become a familiar sight on Earth. Jake's silver eyes met Elena's, and they shared a moment of silent understanding. They had been through so much together, guiding humanity through its tumultuous entry onto the galactic stage. As Elena continued her speech, she reflected on the challenges they had faced. The integration of alien technology had not been without its hurdles. There had been resistance from those who feared change, and opportunists who sought to use the new advancements for personal gain. But for every obstacle, human ingenuity and determination had found a way forward. "Our journey has just begun," Elena said, her voice filled with conviction. "With the knowledge shared by our galactic neighbors and our own innate creativity, we stand poised to contribute to the broader universe in ways we're only beginning to imagine." She gestured to a group of young students in the audience, their eyes shimmering with the now familiar silver hue of the enhanced. "Our children will grow up in a world where the boundaries between planets are as easily crossed as those between countries once were. They will be the first true citizens of the galaxy." As Elena concluded her speech, the audience erupted in applause. The ceremony that followed, officially inducting Earth into the Galactic Council, was broadcast across the planet and to colonies that had already been established on Mars and Europa. Later, as the formal events wound down, Elena found herself on a balcony overlooking the city with Jake and Zarthol. "You've come a long way," Jake said, a hint of his old self in his smile. From a scientist working in a secret lab to the face of Earth's galactic relations. Elena chuckled. "We've all come a long way. I don't think any of us could have predicted this when we first started that experiment." Zarthol's form shimmered with what they had come to recognize as amusement. "The path of evolution is rarely straightforward. Your species has adapted remarkably well." "There's still so much to do," Elena mused, looking up at the stars now visible in the darkening sky. "So much to explore and discover." Jake nodded. "The Kruzak are still out there, and other threats we haven't even encountered yet. But we're better prepared now, and we're not alone." "Indeed," Zarthol agreed, "and there are wonders waiting to be discovered that will challenge even your enhanced minds." As they stood there, contemplating the future, a bright streak of light caught their attention. The first of Earth's deep space exploration vessels, crewed by both humans and alien allies, was departing for the far reaches of the galaxy. Elena felt a swell of emotion. To think, not long ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're taking our place among the stars. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, and it all started with one experiment, one leap into the unknown. "A leap that has reshaped the destiny of your entire species," Zarthol added. As they watched the ship disappear into the night sky, Elena realized that this truly was just the beginning. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever the universe had in store. The experiment that had started in a secret government lab had blossomed into a new era for humanity. An era of exploration, innovation, and cosmic fellowship. There would be challenges ahead, new threats to face, and mysteries to unravel. But Elena knew that with human ingenuity unleashed and guided by the wisdom of their galactic allies, there was no limit to what they could achieve. As the first stars began to twinkle in the twilight, Elena, Jake, and Zarthol stood in comfortable silence, three beings from vastly different origins united in their vision for the future. The new era for humanity had begun, and the entire galaxy was watching with anticipation to see what this young, dynamic species would do next. The story of humanity's journey to the stars had only just begun, and the next chapter promised to be the most exciting yet.